Hello, everybody. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of September 9th, 2024. I'm your Mayor, Chris Villa, and I call this meeting to order. Val, please call the roll.
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Villa.
Here. Thank you, Val, and I'll ask you all to please stand now for the invocation led by Commissioner John Penny and continue standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will you pray with me? Dear gracious God, we ask that you place your hand of blessing on this meeting. We ask that you would guide and direct our meeting so it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We ask that you keep our city teammates safe as they do their jobs. And dear Lord, we ask that you make your loving presence felt by those that need it the most and by those that think they need it the least. God, please bless this meeting, our city, and our great country. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I'll be here.
Are the mics on? Okay. All right, so we're going to start today with our public hearings. I don't hear it. Check. 1, 2, check. Yeah? Okay.
Mine's on.
Everybody's hearing me now. All right, I think they're on. Just want to make sure the people at home listening can hear. So we're going to start today with our public hearings, the budget and millage rate. First hearings. We have number 1 is Resolution 2024-R-59, first public hearing. Mr. Forte.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to read this resolution in its entirety. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative levying of ad valorem taxes for the City of Holly Hill for the fiscal year 2024-2025, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Whereas the City of Holly Hill of Volusia County, Florida, on September 9th, 2024, adopted a fiscal year 2024-2025 tentative millage rate following a public hearing as required by Florida statutes 200.065. And whereas the City of Holly Hill of Volusia County, Florida, held a public hearing as required by Florida statutes 200.65. And whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes not exempt from taxation has been certified by the Volusia County property appraiser to the City of Holly Hill as, that's a big number, 1001,260,239, 1 million, what number is that? 1,260,939. Is that right? Okay. Now therefore be resolved by the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida. The fiscal year 2024-2025 operating millage is 5.8 mils, which is greater than the rollback rate of 5.4151 mils by 7.11%. The final public hearing will be September 24th, 2024 at 6 p.m. If any section or portion of this section of the resolution provides to be invalid, unlawful, or unconstitutional, it shall not be held to invalidate or impair the validity, force, or effect of other sections or part of this resolution. The resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption. So, Mayor, this, the millage is being dropped by 0.1 mils. When we get into the budget, we'll be able to explain that a little bit more. Michelle will talk about that a little bit more. So the millage was 5.9, and we reduced it down to 5.8.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? All right. At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the City Commission about this item? All right. Seeing none, we will close public participation, and I will open the floor for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry, a second from Vice Mayor Penny. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Oppose. The motion passes 4-1. Now moving on to number 2, Resolution 2024-R-60 for first public hearing. Mr. Forte.
Thank you, Mayor. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the tentative budget for the City of Holly Hill for fiscal year 2024-2025, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Whereas the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, on September 9th, 2024, held a public hearing as required by Florida Statutes 200.065, and whereas the City of Holly Hill, Volusia County, Florida, set forth the appropriations and revenue estimate for the budget for fiscal year 2024-2025, now therefore be it resolved by the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, that the City Commission of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, pursuant to the Charter of the City of Holly Hill and Chapter 166 Florida Statutes, does hereby adopt the tentative general enterprise and all other related fund budgets and capital improvement programs, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A, which may later be amended by the City Commission. Section 2 sets forth the public hearing for September 24th, immediately following the adoption of the millage rate resolution. If any section or portion of this section of this resolution proves to be invalid, unlawful, or unconstitutional, it shall not be held to invalidate or impair the validity, force, or effect of any other section or part of this resolution. The resolution shall take effect immediately upon its adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. Do you want to talk about the health insurance?
Well, I'm going to have Michelle kind of come up and give you a quick summary of what has taken place over the last couple of weeks since we had the budget work sessions. So there was a lot of juggling of the numbers. There was some new revenues that came in that we didn't have during that budget session. There were some modifications to personnel and wages. And then at the last minute, we did get notification that our health insurance premium, we had anticipated a 10% increase. We had budgeted for that, and it came back at zero, which is an accomplishment for the personnel and all the people that are part of that health plan that they're doing what they need to do to stay healthy and use the system properly. So I'll let Michelle kind of update you on that.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. So since I presented the original budget at 5.9 and now at 5.8, I did receive additional revenue. I received the Florida Department of Revenue estimates for the local option fuel tax, which was an increase. We also received our award notices for the aggressive driving grant and the VOCA grant. So those were increases to our revenue. And then we had decreases in expenditure. We had the health insurance. We also had an employee misclassified as general fund, which is actually in enterprise. And so that was a shift of payroll to the enterprise fund. We also had an increase based on discussions that we had here, additional money for the sidewalks, an employee event, and we had to increase our estimate of payment to the Humane Society. So the offset of the revenue and expenditures was very close. I was able to decrease our carry forward estimate, and so the amount of decrease to the general fund for all of those things I just mentioned is $14,999, and the increase for the enterprise fund was $63,000. So the difference in the ad valorem revenue is a decrease of $68,000. But with all of the changes, the net effect was $86,000 total, $15,000 to the general fund.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Joe, you and I had talked privately about possibility of budgeting for a sandbag machine.
Yeah, we talked about this, actually, the mayor brought this up last year, and we talked about the sandbag machine, and I had staff looking at some sandbag machines. The one that I truly liked, that I thought was affordable by about $24,000, they no longer produce. They only produce this bigger one that's a lot more money, probably 3 times that. Then we looked at another company that's got a 4-bag chute that one of them has an auger in it that drops the sand, and then there's a 2-chute which doesn't. It's gravity fed, and those tend to clump up. So we don't have anything in the budget for it this year. I think what I'd like to try to do is to look for a grant that could potentially be used for a sandbag machine. There are challenges, like we talked about last year with sandbag machines. There's a place that's got to be stored, and then in order to use those machines, you've got to use really good sand. It's got to be, I don't want to call it kids' playground sand, but it's got to be pretty good, and Antoine's nodding his head back there, because anything less than that really good sand, it's going to clump, it's going to clog, and you're going to have all kinds of problems. A four-chute sandbagger is just too much, takes too much personnel, and it produces far more sandbags than we could ever really need. But a two-chute system would be more along the lines of what we would need. So we did shop it around a little bit, but we didn't put anything in the budget this year. Hopefully we'll get through the rest of this season without any storms, and we won't need it. Otherwise, we'll continue doing what we're doing, and then we'll evaluate it during this next year to see if it's something that we could purchase to a grant.
My only concern is if we don't budget for it this year, we won't have it for next year's season, so we'll be out of it. So I know we just passed the millage, which determines how much money we get to spend in the budget, but I'm of the opinion that we should take that $60,000 and look to, because it's going to be insignificant to any taxpayer, 0.1 mils, and look at that machine, because that's one of the biggest complaints. I know we've all been out there and shoveled sandbags for ourselves and shoveled sandbags for our neighbors, and it would be so much more effective to be able to bring in staff and make 1,000 sandbags in 8 hours and have them stacked up for the citizens to come and get. I just think it's what's it going to cost you, another $3 a year on your property taxes to get access to a sandbag machine? So I know we've passed it. It comes back second reading. But I'm of the opinion that we should look at it this budget so that hopefully we don't have any this year because we don't have the money. But if we don't put it in this year's budget, we won't have it for next year. And we'll just keep kicking it down the road. The budget is so tight that that little bit of money, if 24 isn't going to get it, if 45 is going to get it, and we're saving 60 or 70,000 for that 0.1 mil, I'm of the opinion that we should spend the money and get a sandbag machine. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, let me ask a question to that. Could we, because I agree with you, we need a sandbag machine, because, you know, I've been out there busting my back for many years, so now you're becoming mayor, now you can do that. Now I know why you want.
I did it when I was a mayor.
Yeah, I know. I'm joking, but, so I agree with you, and that's why I brought it up the last couple seasons, but we just didn't have the money. But being that it would be a one-time expense, can we just use some reserve funds to pay for that as opposed to budgeting it in for a millage ongoing?
Yeah, we'd have to, I mean, you could even just do what you're doing tonight in the next meeting, and then in the next fiscal year, we can do a budget amendment and take it from reserves.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a win-win, I think.
Yeah, because we have it, we have to be
Right.
able to.
Right.
And I would be very careful of what you actually buy, because I know from a lot of years of experience, those sandbag machines require a lot of maintenance,
They come-
a
Right.
lot of maintenance.
Maybe you could help find one with the city manager.
I've worked on them for 23
There
years
you
at City
go.
Woman.
Provide him some companies.
They're always breaking, something breaks on
There
them.
you go. Yeah, good point.
But
Vice Mayor.
talk to Kevin Gray at Ormond before you buy one.
Well, I'm not going to talk to
Kevin's
him.
gonna be
He can
retiring.
talk.
Huh?
Kevin's going to be retiring.
Yeah, but he isn't retired yet.
All right, are there any further questions about the budget? All right, thank you, Mrs. Moore.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we're going to open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about the budget? Yes, sir, Mr. Legary. Just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Jim Legary, 342 Burley. I was pleased to see Commissioner Penny discuss citizens. I drive around in this weather or in the sun, and I see all these people getting heat stroke or getting drowned, and I wonder if perhaps there isn't some way we could budget something for these bus stops. I don't know how you would possibly tolerate having to take a bus anywhere. And I somehow think that perhaps the government should involve themselves in what would be better for the citizens. Also, I didn't peruse the budget that much, but I would like to see a citizen's advocate or something like that included in our budget. I know we've got, what is it? There's millions of dollars there, and I somehow think we could find enough money to get somebody to go out from this building to talk to people about what's on their mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Legary. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on the budget this year? All right, seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion?
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson. And we have a second from Commissioner Curry. Any discussion needed? All right, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 3, which is presentations. We have a presentation tonight from Raf Tellis about the water and wastewater utility revenue sufficiency study. And so I'll call you up now and hand the floor over to you, sir. And thank you so much for going through this and our workshop and explaining every single line to us, and for agreeing here tonight to present it to the community. We appreciate you.
Thank you. My associate Sean, who carried the water on this, couldn't be here tonight, so you got the B team filling in for him. But that being said, I did attend the workshop with Sean, and we went through things in a great amount of detail, as well as issuing a report that you've had.
Can you just state your name for the record? I know Val.
Sorry, Henry Thomas, Vice President, Raf Tellis Financial Consulting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Sorry.
Thomas.
What I'd like to do tonight, and I know you have a briefing document in front of you with quite a number of slides, probably the same thing we went over in the workshop. I'm going to annotate it a little bit, make it brief, get to the points, the major points, and then open it up for your questions. So if you would, could you go to slide number 8? So one of the things I want to tell you is that you did a rate study and implemented rates beginning in 2019 through 2024, about 5.5% a year. That, as well as the good fortune and the hard work your staff did in getting you some grants, have really put you in a sound position financially. That rate study that was implemented from 2019 to 2024 was a 5.5% increases annually. So in the upcoming next 5 years, when we're looking at it, you've got a capital plan of $49.5 million, which is significant. However, of that, $27.8 million will be funded through grants. And that's a big, big win for the city. That amount, if you were to have to borrow it for debt service, would add another $1.7 million a year to your revenue requirements. We'd be looking at a very different picture. So I want to make that's a big point to make. Obviously, the city continues to grow, but very moderately, but your operating expenses continue to rise, obviously faster than growth. So it's great that we're going to have a period of time, I think, where your ratepayers will get a little bit of relief compared to the prior 5 years, and quite frankly, compared to what's going on in a lot of surrounding communities. So if you will go to slide 10 for me. I want to point out that your current debt service payments in 2024 are $884,000 this year. The good news is that by 2029, that debt, outstanding existing debt, will decrease to $487,000. So you've got a Series 2005 bond. Final payment is in 2025. You've got 2 SRF loans that will be paid off in the next 5 years. So your fixed costs on the system, your debt service, which is a major component of fixed costs, are actually declining. There is no new debt in this plan. So again, very good outcome. Makes my job easy, makes it easy for the community to live with it. So if you would go to slide 12, I'd like to show you the outcome of all this. The recommended rate increases over the next 5 years are 2% a year for the water system and 4% for the wastewater system. We've attempted to make sure each system stands alone and pays their full amount. That averages 2.8% per bill on a combined bill for someone using your system average use. That it will be roughly resulting in a bill increase of $2 a year each on average for the next 5 years, $2 a month. So again, a very good outcome. I wanted to share with you also one more piece of information I think that the community would be interested in, and that's on slide 17. And this is a rate comparison, just showing where your rates currently are in terms of, this is your average user, $70.20 for a combined water wastewater bill would go to $72.35 in that first year. You're going to maintain your current position. I can tell you that Port Orange has a multi-year rate increase that certainly exceeds 2.8%. They're going to be moving up. New Smyrna Beach Utilities Commission just completed their 5-year study, and we're assisting them to look ahead for the next 5 years. Certainly going to have rate increases, I would suspect. And again, many of these, City of Edgewater just adopted or is adopting with their budget this year rate increases that will exceed what the city, what Holly Hill is looking at. So it's a good picture when you look at your neighbors. I caution you, this isn't really a report card per se, because circumstances can be different. Age of plants, condition of the system can affect all this without it necessarily being inefficient, if you will. But the good thing is, again, with the grants you're receiving, the capital program should be funded. Your internal financial targets will be met, and your external requirements for loans will be met. So this rate path that we're proposing should leave you in a sound position. You should probably look at this again in a few more years, keep ahead of it, keep doing these small increases to the extent we can, regular, but instead of deferring and having big increases. I think the public, at least in my experience, appreciates that, and that's the path you're on right now. And I also would like to thank Joseph Gazurkas, who we worked with, and we've worked with him over the years in the help he gave us, as well as Miss Moore. So they did a great job working with us on this. It went very smoothly, and again, I think it's a great outcome for the city of Holly Hill. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Are there any questions for Mr. Thomas?
I think most of my questions, Mayor, were answered during our workshop.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much for taking the time and going through this. And it's very good to learn that the tough increases that we had to take on because we were so far behind 5 years ago made a difference to where we actually can level this out. So, and kind of be where inflation is, because the cost of everything continues to go up. But especially with, you know, for the public's knowledge, with $50 million worth of capital improvements in our wastewater and water department are astronomical. And as you said, to be able to pay for that through good hard work with the legislature to get these grants is incredible for our city. So I really appreciate all your work and explaining all the ins and outs to us, especially in that workshop. So thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. All right. All right. And now we're going to move on to public comments. This is the audience's opportunity to speak about anything not on our agenda tonight. Deborah, you jumping out of your seat? You want to come on up? All right.
Not
And just-
Miss Williams now.
Yeah,
She
just-
wouldn't jump out of her seat.
Just introduce yourself for the record, address, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Deborah Williams, 628 LPGA Boulevard, Apartment B, Holly Hill, Florida. I am here tonight because I'm still concerned about the Centennial Park for some benches with the cover over there, because there are a lot of elderly people that like to go to the park, they like to fish. When they finish fishing, they like to sit up at the tables and they'll eat. and have their lunch, go back to fishing. But since all the tables have been removed, they don't go there. Me, myself, I like to go there sometime and just to sit there. Just, if it just can be some put in the front, and just consider, you know, that they don't want to just sit in their car and to have lunch. You know, I think that'll help a lot of senior citizens that go there. And another thing I was concerned about, is there ever going to be another outside basketball court where the young people can go and play basketball on the outside in the city of Holly Hill? I've been in Holly Hill since 1988. And I know Holly Hill have always had basketball courts on the outside where they can go and play basketball. And we need that also, so the younger people can gather outside and play basketball. Maybe they'll come outside more to play basketball. A lot of times they can go to the gym, but they don't want to play on the inside all the time, in which I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to be all inside all the time. I want to be free on the outside. So those are the two main things that I'm concerned about in the city of Holly Hill. And I does get questioned about stuff like that because they know I will come and confront it, you know, bring it to the city. So that's the only two things that I'm asking the commissioner to consider. Just one. I'm not worried about the back. I'm not worried about no tables in the back. Just two in the front. Just, you know, make it there. I see the other parks on the on Google. I see Sunrise. I see the other park. They look nice. But when you go by Centennial, there's nothing but a bathroom in the water, and no one's fishing. Since the seat's gone, everything's gone. It's like closing down. And then on 10th Street, headed to Winn-Dixie, where they used to park out there and fish, now it say city only. Can't nobody park there but the city. So that's been taken away also. So we have to consider, you know, the senior citizens here, or other people that they just sit there and fish. They're not gonna, I know it's a lot of ducks out there, but they just only go and maybe want to go around the corner and sit in their chair and enjoy life, you know. And if you take everything away, then they're gonna stop fishing, you know. And that's a part of life that everybody want to fish. So that's all I'm concerned about is tables, you know, at Centennial Park, maybe open the chain at the other little park down there, and basketball goals. That's all I'm really, all the other stuff, I'm happy with it. But I'm just, you know, that would be a great thing to consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to the commission about anything not on our agenda? Yes, ma'am. Just state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 5 minutes.
Evening, Don Boland, 1716 Center Avenue. I had a couple, actually, odd questions. A couple of months back, I wound up speaking to Mr. Forte with regards to our sewer line system on Center Avenue. And I had mentioned to the city guy that wanders around the truck with regards to whether or not there was something that could be done to raise the sewer line from the cap to the ground level. I got a hole in the yard because I wound up, you need to go ahead and make sure you know where your sewer line is, even though they have a pin in the road. And so whether or not the city has the accommodations to go ahead and deal with an extension pipe, I don't know why the lines are sinking. That has been an issue, and it's, you know, there's no doubt that the line has decreased from the land where it used to be above ground, and it is about 4 inches, 5 inches down lower than it should be. And so whether or not, like Home Depot or Lowe's, or if you have an extension pipe to deal with eliminating a hole in the yard, but filling it in, you know, just you take a pipe, you screw it on top where the cap goes, and then you put the cap on top. I know they make those devices, but I just have not gone to the store, and I don't know whose job and whose responsibility that would be, let alone determining why the sewer line is sinking. That was the first thing, and so you just can think about it, let me know, or whatever have you. The second situation I wanted to mention and question is Waste Pro. I noticed on social media that there was individuals that didn't get their garbage picked up. And one of the comments from Beth was that the Waste Pro are fined with regards to the idea of not being able to pick up the trash on time when they're supposed to. Well, I made a comment on that with regards to social media because I was shocked on that. I don't know whether or not the city collects fees when Waste Pro fails to pick up on a timely matter. That brings me to my next question. Does the city, I understand that the bill is going up with regards to the water bill and the waste management bill. I understand that. My question is, does the city or the county have the ability or the capability or any involvement with regards to the Waste Pro trucks? The hydraulics have been a mess. I'm not certain if you all seen the trucks, but I mean, these guys are out there at night, at dark. It's like really bad. The trucks are breaking down. Is there any way a grant funding can be done, whether it be county or city or something? Even though, I mean, I know the costs of everything is going up as far as things are concerned, but I feel really bad for these guys. I understand when you're going to have massive quantities of trash, and maybe people are going to be needing to pay that additional to have those huge, massive trees picked up or whatever have you. And it's like I understand the bulk trash, but what is taking place? And as far as leaning these guys for not being able to pick up the trash when they're working their tail off. They are working their tails off until the late hours of the night with regards to this stuff. And it's just like, just on my street alone, let alone the public comments, okay, you can understand with the construction and stuff like that, but I think there's a major issue with that. Can you give me any insight on that, or?
Yeah, after public comments, I'm going to ask Mr. Forte a couple questions based on it.
Okay, and then, well, I do have a little bit more time with regards to it. Third issue, last issue, just do need to make comment on this. Considering with regards to the permitted easement stormwater dispute, with regards to the mandate that was issued by the appeals court, basically they have gone ahead and addressed that I'm commanded to further proceedings as may be required and be had in said cause in accordance with the ruling of the court. With regards to the situation, having not heard back from the Chief Williams, and not having heard anything further discussion with regards to the idea, unfortunate reality with regards to the situation, if there's no results and if there's no method of rectifying the wrongdoing that has taken place with regards to this easement and this fence that's under the power lines, destroying my life for the past 4 years, I will have no other choice but to go ahead, like I said last meeting, to go and file complaints with the Department of State, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. I was hoping there was some kind of method to rectify this wrongdoing. It should have never happened in the first place. And I understand with regard to the situation, but I did want to let you know that the mandate's been issued. They telling me to go ahead and
Bring it in for a landing, Ms. Bullen. Thank you very much. All right. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Just introduce yourself and then 5 minutes.
Christina Bolin, 1716 Center Avenue, Holly Hill. Last meeting, I was here to establish how to go about filing an official code enforcement complaint within this city. Having previously verbally expressed on multiple occasions since 2020 that there are numerous code violations, and while previously largely ignored, argued with, and/or told I can't speak on certain matters remotely pertaining to the situations due to your, quote, operational error, creating a civil matter, fact remains the problems and violations still exist. It is incomprehensible how this city has yet to initiate code enforcement. A special masters meeting should have been long allowed to be had as well. The fencing should have never been permitted to be placed within an easement of which its primary function is that of communal stormwater drainage and utilities. In my opinion, the city is a disgrace. You all have caused years of duress and harm. The continued allowance of municipal code violations and unethical behavior is beyond shameless. You pick and choose what municipal codes and laws you want to abide by or acknowledge, and it's disgusting, in my opinion. Code enforcement needs to do their jobs. The city should not be above the law. Use relying on Chapter 70, which relates back to stormwater drainage utilities fees, is sickly humorous to me when you have largely burdened stormwater management systems, including this easement that is to allow for the proper and adequate drainage of stormwater, whilst changing land use and zoning over the course of years to allow for increased development to include those in flood zones that directly impact stormwater runoff, as well as other utilities. Perhaps you should read Chapters 3, 78, and 94 too, and initiate code enforcement in relation to the fencing obstructing the stormwater and utilities easement in Block 5, of which I reside. Chapter 78, the Land Use and Development Regulations of the City of Holly Hill and the Municipal Code of Ordinances, provides for specific performance. It was created to ensure all development proposals are to be thoroughly and efficiently reviewed and to promote efficiency, predictability, and citizen participation. The guidelines throughout it are meant to abate nuisances, mitigate conflicts, preserve environmental and ecological benefits, prevent activities that adversely affect ground and surface water, protect natural drainage systems, protect human life and health, prevent unnatural diversion of floodwater, protect environmentally sensitive lands and their beneficial functions, protect the rights of property owners, aesthetics and property values, etc. Yet you erroneously discredited, as ordained in 1993 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances, the validity of the existing easements, covenants, and deed restrictions as duly recorded in public records of this county, let alone the rear yard setbacks that were created in 1995. Yet you all have relentlessly fought to have the matter swept under the rug, largely unheard. But it's time you fix this. Discontinue the act of violating provisions, ordinances, regulations, the municipal code, and citizens' rights. It's in place to protect the environment, life, safety, and health of those in our community. Your continued discrimination, willful ignorance, and ongoing destruction by means of provisional powers needs to end. The fencing needs to be enforceably removed from where it stands. The obstruction of this valid and existing easement is beyond detrimental both publicly and privately. The city holds the ability to rectify the code violations, so stop pretending no violations exist because of this city's operational error and initiate code enforcement. Chapter 94, titled Floods, provides for watercourse protection. To include the prevention of significant retardation of the flow of water throughout a watercourse, the fencing located within this stormwater drainage and utilities easement is in violation. It has disrupted and altered the vital functions of this easement. It's causing flooding, standing water. The obstructions have been destroying the property and topography. It needs to be fixed immediately. The longer this goes on, the worse it's becoming. It's hazardous and causing continued harm. So I ask, will the initiation of code enforcement to abate this nuisance with the removal of the obstructions be commenced by this city? It is vital that this easement is able to function as intended. And to be quite frank, the injustice has gone on for far too long. So I really need to know what you all intend to do about this, if any.
Thank you, Christina, and you still have 45 seconds if you wish to speak.
How to go about code enforcement, because through the course of the years,
Have you made a code enforcement complaint to the code enforcement officers?
the last attempt that I made to speak with code enforcement, I was escorted out of City Hall by the police department. I never got a chance to write any kind of formal complaints. Every attempt I've ever made to speak on this matter has pretty much been brushed aside.
I will tell you, if you do make a code enforcement complaint, you can do it by email, do it by phone, you can come in person. I'm not made aware of you guys not being able to be in City Hall at all. So what I would say is, they're doing their job, keep it civil with them, and I don't know what happened before, but that's just my assumption of something that happened. But they're not barred from City Hall in any way. Is that correct, Mr. Forte?
No, they're not.
So if you'd like to come in and make that complaint, or if you feel more comfortable, do it in email or on the phone as well. They have to take in any and all complaints, and then it'll be up to them to follow the code. All right. Thank you, Ms. Bolin. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, ma'am. Commissioner-elect, I should say. State your name.
Snow, Commissioner-elect, 302 Daytona Avenue. Commissioner Curry, I waited till you got back this week so that I could say this to all of you. I am honored by the citizens of this community that voted me in, and I am humbled by each of you, what you have done for our city, and the love that you have for our city. I hope that I can carry that on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, Commissioner-elect. Is there anyone else in the audience? I think everybody's spoken, so.
There is nobody else.
There's not anybody else. For the record, nobody else. All right. I'm going to close public comments, and I did say I was going to address some things. Mrs. Williams, benches. We were talking about benches. Mr. Forte, we talked about it. Were you able to put those in, or?
No, I'll have to go back to that. If we're talking about benches or picnic tables, not pavilions or covered areas, correct?
Correct. Benches, right? Like a picnic table?
I'm sure
Like
we
what
can-
was there before, like in the front?
Well, you had picnic tables under pavilions, and they were mostly occupied by,
That was in the back, though.
it was
the
it was
front,
all over.
by the
Front,
bathrooms.
too?
Oh, yeah.
Right by 10th Street.
Yep,
There was a pavilion there?
yeah.
I just remember it
There's a
being.
pavilion there, and there was a pavilion off to the left, if you're facing the park, to the left, closer to the railroad tracks. But we could look to put another picnic table out there, and we'll monitor it to make sure that it's being used for its intended purpose. I don't think there'll be a problem with that.
All right, and then she brought up fishing. There was another spot where people used to park. Now there's a chain, says city
The
vehicles.
only thing I'm thinking is that might be the Flamingo Pond. Is it down
Yeah,
10th Street?
that's the one there between 10th Street and what dead ends Lakewood.
Yeah.
There's no complaints of anything or blocking city
We have
vehicles or-
we've had complaints, and in fact, I'm familiar with this because I had asked Public Works to go out there, and because they had put a chain across, but the chain didn't quite go all the way to the pole, and people were still going around, and the neighbors were calling me saying that it's not necessarily the people fishing that are a problem, it's people that are going back there with their vehicles and their motorcycles and whatever else have you, and while the pond and the access is public, it's city right-of-way, easement, the property surrounding it, it's all private property. So people are walking along what is potentially the private property areas of that. But more so, they were complaining about the motorcycles and the people going back there, so we just cut off access to it.
Is that the one you're talking about, Ms. Williams?
The one up
We-
by Winn-Dixie. Yeah, the one, it runs between the end of Lakewood, where I live, but the other side, it dead ends there, that's where it starts, and then it runs over to 10th Street. That property, there's like a wooden fence around it, and they have the chain.
Well, Mrs. Williams, here's what I'll say. Just get with Joe on this one, because we're not going to work it out here, and he'll figure out a solution.
If you can
And then
come into
as-
the office, we'll look at it.
As to your basketball recommendation, I agree with you fully. And I will say, before we got a huge grant from the state to build our well-needed fire station, I mean, we really needed to upgrade our fire system. They couldn't even, our firefighters couldn't even stay in there during any type of storms because it wasn't rated. That little property, we were actually looking into putting in a basketball court there. So I know that this commission is for that. It's about finding a place for it. So I won't be on the commission after November, but I'm sure in your goal-setting sessions, you all will take a look at that.
Well, at the racquetball courts by the tennis courts, where you go.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't there a goal there at one time?
I don't remember a goal in the
Wasn't
racquetball.
there a basketball goal there?
Is that called a goal?
Yeah, a goal.
I would definitely be interested.
Like a net,
in-
yeah.
It's 5'2", what are you talking about?
I don't play basketball.
It's
Basketball
a goal.
net.
Play handball. When the guy shoots and you block it, that's called goaltending.
Goaltending. No, when you hit the ball off the rim, that's called
I don't
goaltending.
play basketball. No, there was never a basketball goal there.
Well, so what I'd say is, it's a great
We could put a peach
idea.
basket up there.
It's a great idea, and I would suggest the
James
commission
Naismith, that's how it
look at it
started.
in their goal-setting session, and we have Commissioner-elect here, and I think it's a great idea. Anything we can do for the kids, I'm always all for it, and I think this commission has always been the same. Mrs. Bolin, the cap sewer question, I don't know the answer to that.
I can answer some of these. If her sewer cap has, for whatever reason, either sunk or was hit with a mower, whatever the reason may be, we'll send somebody out there to take a look at it, and we can do, just as she said, simply raise it up. Doesn't matter why it's down, we'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
The Waste Pro, anytime that we have a street or an area that doesn't get collected, if somebody notifies us, we put it into the system, and they have a certain period of time to go out and rectify that, or they do receive a fine. They receive fines for other things. With regard to the hydraulic system, Bill McDermott, RCG Consulting, they do go out and they inspect the vehicles for everything from hydraulics to equipment that's on the truck. I'll remind Bill to go ahead and make sure that they're being looked at for the hydraulics. These vehicles are supposed to be so many years old, they can't be any more than, and I don't remember what the number is, maybe 7 years or 10 years, I really don't remember.
That's their responsibility, right?
It's their responsibility, but Bill McDermott does inspect them. He goes in the field and he inspects them, and if they are in violation, again, they're subject to a fine. So we'll take care of that. And then the last thing, anything regarding the fence, I'm not going to respond to because that's an active case against the city.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Forte. All right, now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from the August 27, 2024 regular city commission meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from Vice Mayor Penny and second from Commissioner Curry, or Danio.
Danio.
Thinking Penny.
Forgot me already. Not even gone yet.
Not even gone. So with that, I'll open it up to public comment. Is there anybody that wants to comment on the minutes tonight? Seeing none, I will close public comments on the minutes. We'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now we move to our consent agenda, items 1 through 3. Would a commissioner like to remove any items on the consent agenda? All right. The action proposed is stated for each item on the consent agenda. Unless the city commissioner removes an item from the consent agenda, no discussion on individual items will occur, and a single motion will approve all items. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak about anything on our consent agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval of our consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry and a second from Commissioner Johnson. No discussion is needed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now moving to our regular agenda tonight, our first item is Resolution 2024-R-62. Mr. Forte.
A resolution of the city of, by title only, a resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, establishing the water and sewer rates for the City of Holly Hill for 5 years, beginning October 1, 2024, and annually thereafter, providing for severability, providing for the conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date. So this is the presentation that we just received from Henry from Reftelis, where he's indicating that we are going to, over the next 5 years, we'll see a 2% increase to the water and 4% increase to the sewer. And that's based on the study that Reftelis had just completed.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions for staff?
I just want to say, like you said earlier, I mean, basically, it's a half of the increase of the last 5 years, 2.8 versus 5.5. So, all around good, I guess.
All right, with that, we'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? All right, and we'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson. We have a second from Commissioner Curry, and I echo your statements there, exactly what I said earlier, so getting down to 2% for the water is a lot better.
Well, I mean, the average is 2.8 and 5.5 is basically it's about half, so that's a lot better, so.
Do the best we can with what we got. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to number 2, which is Resolution 2024-R-63. Mr. Forte.
A resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, establishing certain fees and increasing certain existing fees for various services and permits provided by the city and adopting a comprehensive citywide fee schedule for the fiscal year 24-25.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for staff? Seeing none, I'll open this up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, I will close public participation. Entertain a motion for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve from Commissioner Danio and a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion needed? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now moving to number 3, which is Resolution 2024-R-64. Mr. Forte.
By title only, a resolution of the City of Holly Hill, Florida, ratifying a 3-year agreement with the Police Benevolent Association of Holly Hill, PBA, October 1, 2024 through October 30th, 2027, providing for severability, providing for conflicting resolutions, and providing an effective date. So with
I was going to say, would you like to make some comments?
Yes, yeah, this one I have to comment on. So the negotiations with the PBA this year has been challenging, but not adversarial. I'm surprised that there's nobody here from the PBA this evening. I thought they'd be here. It was challenging in that, as the commission knows, we have some correcting to do in the police department, and I think that this contract renewal gets us in that direction. So to start out with, this will be a 3-year contract, but wages and one article will be able to be opened up in years 2 and 3 of the contract. So that gives us an opportunity to dive a little deeper into the biggest concern that they have, which is wages, to determine if the wage that they're being given this year brings them up closer to what that mid-range is or not. And then as we evaluate it over this next year, we'll have a better understanding, a better education, more information about where we sit in the grand scheme of things in terms of fairness to the wage for the officers. So the other changes, and I'll read through this like I did the other contract a couple of weeks ago. The other changes to the contract include Article 1, which updates the list of those that are excluded from the bargaining unit, which now includes the captain and lieutenant positions. Article 7 clarifies that there's a 2.5-hour minimum callback when officers are actually called back to work, not carried over in time. Article 10 incorporates the sergeant's promotional exam process, which was previously agreed upon by a separate memorandum. Article 15 clarifies that out-of-class pay is for temporary assignments in excess of 5 consecutive days or 5 consecutive shifts, because they have some people work an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and some people work a 6 to 6. So we want to make sure that the days and the shift were both included in that. Article 21 clarifies that employees working 2,080 hours per year are eligible for 40 hours of bereavement leave, and employees working 2,184 are eligible for 48 hours bereavement leave, again amounting to 1 week's worth of bereavement leave. Article 24 provides a wage increase for all PBA bargaining unit members in the amount of 10% for the year beginning October 2024. That'll be in the first full pay period. The minimum maximums of all pay grades are proposed to increase 8% in October 2024. Members being promoted from officer to sergeant shall receive a total increase of 15% minus any increase that they received previously for an MPO 1 or MPO 2 classification. Article 26 clarifies the birthday holiday is actually called a personal day. Article 31 eliminates the section applicable only to members hired prior to September 30th, 1999, because there simply aren't any. Article 36 eliminates the assessment to members who reside outside the city limits for take-home vehicles. Article 37 allows for a wage opener and 1 additional opener by either party for years 2 and 3. In addition, in all areas where it's mentioned, the May 2024 personnel rules and regulations are the document that is referenced. And then one other item that was changed that's not in this list is we allow employees to carry over a certain amount of vacation leave each year. It's 50% of vacation leave because they can carry over any and all sick leave, but employees that are on personal leave, they can carry over 75%, which is basically the sick leave plus half the vacation leave. But in the police department and the PBA contract, it said 50%, so we changed that to say 75%, so that it's equal across the board for all employees. So those are the changes that are in the contract.
Yeah, and I just have to say, it's not a question, but I appreciate all of your time and effort in negotiating this. I know how many meetings you had to have, and as you said, not adversarial, but you know, it's obviously the goal of all of us to support the police department, especially after what we just went through, and they need the most support that we could possibly give them. And you did a great job in hiring Chief Williams, and just really related to you. I know. We were joking about that the other day, though. But he's doing a great job, and I know this commission will continue to support our police department long into the future. And so, you know, when you look at these, some of these are big increases for the police, but deservedly so. They have the hardest job of any of us, and they keep they keep us safe. And if anything goes awry, we're going to be calling on them. And so I just appreciate what you did, and appreciate this commission's support of our police department through it all, and our new police chief. So I appreciate all the work you and your staff did on it.
Thank you, Mayor.
What?
You wanted to say something?
Vice Mayor? Oh.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were going to say.
I was going to, but
Oh, okay.
I'm going to wait until
I got you.
my
Okay.
comment.
All right. With that, are there any further questions? I know mine wasn't a question. All right.
I was trying to be good.
Yeah, I should have been good too. So we'll open up this to the public now. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close public participation, and I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Curry, a second from Vice Mayor. You have the floor,
I
Commissioner
just
Curry.
wanted to make a point on top of everything that you said, which I agree with, that when we compare our agency to other similar agencies in the county, we need to be mindful. We're doing a good job, I think, of trying to keep our salary there, but we're still towards the bottom. So we always have to be mindful of that. These increases seem big, but in comparison to other agencies in the area, we're still towards the bottom, and it's unfortunate. It's fortunate for me because my husband works for the county and reaps those benefits, but bad sitting up here. And I always want to try to support our employees any way we can, but especially the ones that run towards danger when we're all running away.
Well said. Anybody else? All right, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, the motion carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to communications. Mr. Forte, do you have anything for us this evening?
Just two things. One, I'll tell you that by the end of the month, we should be fully staffed in the police department, hiring
Good.
all the
Good.
law enforcement, patrol personnel, as well as the captain should be coming on board in the next couple of weeks.
The new sergeants as well.
New sergeants are in the promotional process, and they should also be pretty close to the end of
Okay.
this month. So, yeah, everything
Good.
should be in place. And then last thing I just want to make you aware is I'm told that on Thursday, the 13th, the Our Friends Electric concert over at Pictona,
Oh, yeah.
although these concerts are still provided free to the public, there are 780 tickets that were issued,
Wow.
which is
That's good.
pretty good. So even if half of them
Right.
show up, it should be a pretty good turnout. So
Yeah.
just wanted to make
That's
sure
great.
everybody was.
Joe, how's-
They're
how's
a
the
great
playground?
band, too.
How's the playground going?
What playground?
Over at Sunrise.
Oh, in manufacturing. We probably won't see that till like November.
Right.
November?
That'd be
Before
good.
the 12th?
Not early November.
Come on. Gotta
Hey,
speed them up.
we won't have any commitments.
No, we won't see an email with the prototype till November.
We'll still let Blair slide down the slide first.
Yeah,
You can be
The ceremonial, put a ribbon out.
There you go.
Goes
Not a
through
bad
it.
idea.
Oh, man. All right. Anything else, Mr. Forte?
That's all, thank you.
All right. So today, I went to the elected officials roundtable, and so I apologize, John. I got there, and usually these meetings are the beginning of the month on the first Monday, sometimes second Monday. So it didn't dawn on me that this was my last meeting until I was there, and then they said the next meeting's November 18th. So you'll have to be there November 18th to represent Holly Hill. But I was planning, I thought I would have one more, so I was going to bring you with me, because I remember when I came on as mayor, you were still on the round table, and you brought me along. So I thought it would be a cool full circle, and I got there, I'm like, can we move the meeting? So, but no, it's been great serving on that, working on regional issues with other people, especially through COVID and some infrastructure issues and whatnot. So, but from that, we went over a lot of health statistics, and specifically, what I was sad to hear about is the amount of kids suffering with depression right now, and suicide rates trending lower and lower for younger people, where in America, the biggest group of suicide rate age-wise are over 74, but here in Volusia County, I think it's 24 to 35. And so that's concerning. You know, we have a mental health crisis, and, you know, I know recently, actually in one of our parks, someone decided that was their only option, unfortunately. So if anyone's listening out there, we'll be listening to you if you ever want to call any of us. I know all of us have a big heart, and we'll listen and try to pick you up. That's never the option. So we have that, and then there was one other thing I was going to bring up. Let me look on my calendar here. While I find it, I'll go to Vice Mayor Penny for your comments.
I was just going to ask about the captain, but it's already been answered. Just remind everyone, on the 28th at Riviera Country Club, our tea time is 8:30. I've invited all the previous mayors. I think they're all going to be there.
Did you invite my dad?
I did, yeah.
Nice.
Bill Arthur?
Didn't even tell me.
Yeah, I invited Bill Arthur.
Bill's going to be there?
Health, if his health allows him to get there, Marcy said she'll have him there.
Good.
So people will be arriving between 7:30 and 8:30. If any of the commissioners want to come up and.
Is it AM or PM?
AM.
If we're gonna come up and help you out, what would
Be
be
specific.
Be there.
7:30.
Okay.
7:30.
So the mayors are coming, but they're not playing.
They're not, there's no room for them to play.
Right.
It's full field right now.
Are you playing or no?
No.
You're just doing the thing.
So it should be a good fundraiser. That's all I got.
That's good. Did you invite Tom Ryan by
I
chance?
didn't. I sent you a text a while ago if you had a contact for him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Do you know how to get in touch with him?
I think I do.
Is he still in town?
Previous. The last I knew, he
The last
moved
I
back
knew
like
he
4
was in
years
town.
ago.
So I thought, because he
And
was here
served-
when you were sworn in.
He
Was he?
wasn't. He couldn't make it. He was moving down.
Okay.
But then he
don't
served
know
on
how
our,
to get ahold
I think our bicycle pedestrian,
Yeah.
I think, as a representative, and then he had to pull off like a
I
year
thought he had moved
ago.
out of town.
He might have moved, yeah. He was mayor for a couple years back in the 90s, but, I
If
think
you have a
90
contact
to
for him.
92. Yeah, I'll look and see if I
Okay.
can. That'd be cool. Anything else? All right. Commissioner Curry?
I don't have anything. I apologize for the mix-up about me not being here last meeting. My fault. Well, I wasn't gonna throw you under the bus, but, I
Threw yourself under the bus.
I just kind of told Joe in a meeting him and I had, and I don't think I said anything at the last meeting I was at. So I'll try to remember to do that in the future, but of course, it was one of my many recent trips to New York to see my family that moved. But, yeah, so my next trip in October doesn't interfere with the commission meeting, so we're all good. But I'm sorry about the confusion at the last meeting. And I don't have anything else except for congratulations, ma'am. I know I told you on the phone, but I'd like to tell you publicly, and I look forward to working with you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Curry. Commissioner
Did
Daniel?
you find what you're looking for?
I did. I'll just say
Go
it
ahead.
at the end. I'll say it at the end.
Sir, I don't have anything other than, I was going to say about Joe putting up with the contract negotiations. Power to you, buddy. You did it. Yep.
All right, Commissioner Johnson?
I just got a couple of things. Right after the last meeting, I think it was, when we had the TPO meeting, and the District 5 is pushing really, really hard to zero fatalities, which I don't understand how they're going to get there, but they're really trying. I mean, the number one cause of accidents is lane changing. Like if you driving along, you're not paying attention, you change to the right lane or something, somebody's already there. And I think in number 2 is probably 90-degree intersections, which I really think the roundabouts are a good idea because that takes away the 90-degree intersections. And that's where so many of the fatalities are and all. And then we have the bicycle and pedestrians. A lot of that, I think, could be cured if people would look to the right when all they got to do, they're looking down Nova Road especially to see if someone's coming, but they don't look to the right at the sidewalk to see if someone's coming on a bicycle, and that's where a lot of them are occurring. And I try to make a habit of that every time I pull up the intersection, since some of them have happened, to look to the right at the sidewalk before I pull out to make sure, you know what I mean? Because somebody could be walking, could be standing there, riding a bicycle, coming real fast down the sidewalk, and that's a problem. So it's just several of them, and I don't, you know, we did it in a company I worked with, they did it about 25 years ago, and we got to 0 today, but all of ours was employees, and you can control employees. When you're trying to control the public and make the public do things safe and not talk on their phone and not be distracted and not do things, I'm watching it close to see though what happens, and I'll help them any way I can, and I really hope it does happen to go 0 today, but so far, maybe they're gaining ground, I hope here. I wouldn't say anything bad about it. And, you know, we can push forward with LPGA because we really need it, because we're getting pretty close on our RV park, and that's going to be a big thing for the city of Holly Hill, a great thing, I think, when the RV park comes in place, you know what I mean? And, you know, the other thing is I noticed, I was kind of being observant because you hear some talk about negativity on sports in Holly Hill. We don't have the sports like we used to have. We took away the facilities. So last week, when it was raining, doing like a practice night where the kids practice and do things, I went around and I observed like the Volusia Sports Center was full. I mean, before the Volusia Sports Center was there, the kids couldn't, more than half of the practices got canceled out because of bad weather and rain and all. So we've increased with that, and the kids have a place to go no matter what the weather is now that we didn't have before. And then you go to flight gymnastics, there's hardly no walking room in the parking lot. It's so full, you know what I mean, because it's completely full of kids, and all they got over 500 members, and I think Sports Center now is pushing 300 already, and already building outside batting cages because they run out of room inside. And then you go to Pictona, which sometimes we get negativity on, and every time I go by there in the evening, they're full. I mean, that's a recreation thing that people play in all ages, and whether they're here in another city or whatever, and it's all different ages. It's not a private club. It's where anybody can come in and play pickleball or something, and hardly ever hear anybody say anything bad about it. But I really, really think, and then we got the rock climbing facility coming on US 1, and I think full-time sports, full-time all the time. Eventually, if we keep on going, we could be the capital. We could be the sports capital of all the counties anywhere in the area, you know what I mean? So I'm really pleased with it and happy with it, and I always think positive with it, and you never say bad about what someone else is saying. You just say what's positive of what we're actually doing, and we're actually doing it, and we have proof we're doing it. I could show anybody anytime how great it is and how good it's doing, you know what I mean? But that's just the way I feel about it in the sports in Holly Hill. I think it improved considerably in the last few years, you know what I mean? And I used to take little Dallas there to the Holloland Park on his little buggy when he was a little kid. Every single time I went there, even on Sunday, Saturday, anytime, it's like it was a ghost town. Nobody was there at all, would play anything at all. Not even the two little basketball things. You never see anybody. Every once in a while, you see somebody playing on the slides or the swing or something. Now we're putting a whole new playground in the park on Beach Street, so you still got a place to play there and all. So I think we're doing great, and I'm really super excited and proud about the way we're going with Holly Hill right now. And I think we're going to do great, right, Deborah? As you come in, we're going to do better, right? As you come in, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. That's my feeling about it anyway. That's what I think about it.
Well, I agree with you, Commissioner Johnson. Well said. Thank you. And Mr. Forte, you had something to add?
Yeah, I just learned today that we may be getting a $5,000 grant for overtime to help with the enforcement of the pedestrian safety at intersections up at the northwest corner of the city. So I just want to make you aware of that.
Up there, we're on Nova Road, in the area where they have so many accidents with the bicycles and pedestrians.
Yes.
Yeah. if people would look to the right just before they pull out, it would
I
solve
don't
the
disagree.
problem.
I know someone very close to me
They just won't do
that
it.
hit somebody on a bicycle that very same way.
All right, so the thing that I forgot was, next week, next Tuesday, I was asked to present, they have history nights at the Holly Hill Historic Museum that we recently moved over to Seca Hall. And I was asked to, they said just do anything about history. I said, well, what, your history. I said, well, I got to thinking, and my dad, Roland Villa, served from 97 to 2010, but he started serving on boards in 1994 here for the city. So I realized that was 30 years ago. 30 years of history, and not saying, we were catalyst of anything, but there's been a lot of historic things that have shaped the city of Holly Hill. When you talk about the gymnasium being built, you talk about Pictona now more recently, the fire station, the CRA being initiated back in the
Sidewalk.
90s.
Riverside Drive sidewalk.
Sidewalk, so there's a lot of things that I thought would be neat if we kind of tag teamed it, and so I asked him to join me, and so it'll be a cool little thing. I've never done anything with my dad like that, so we'll see if I can speak as much as him, but I don't know. No, yeah. He's good at it, I'll tell you that much.
Bring Val and the buzzer.
So we're going to do that, and if you guys want to stop by, it's next Tuesday at Seca Hall, and we'll go over some stuff, and hopefully it's interesting to some folks. So, yes, sir.
I do want to ask Val, just for clarification, it's a public meeting, and if 2 or more elected officials show up, if we just keep our mouths shut, it's not a publicly noticed meeting, right? Or should we make it a publicly noticed meeting? Because there's a good chance that one of the other 4 might show up at that meeting.
I would say just stay on the safe side, yes.
Just what?
I think we should publicly notice it.
If anyone plans to go.
You should if more than just mayor's going to be there, you should publicly notice it that 2 commissioners will be attending this particular meeting open to the public, and because 2 commissioners are there,
We know about it ahead of time. If we showed up at Peabody at the same time, that's just by chance. But I think since we've announced it at a public meeting, we should go ahead and publicly notice that.
Okay, and 2, you're right about Sunshine, where as long as there's no conversation.
Right.
But, and I don't plan to talk about anything in the future.
No, it's better be safe than
but-
sorry, I think. It's the perception.
Yeah, no.
If I walk in and ask you how your day was,
It is 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
just worried if I walked in and asked you how your day was or something, and we're talking, people could
Right.
think we're talking about something.
Right. No, that's very true. So, all right, that's all I have. Is there anything further before this commission? All right, seeing none, thank you all for coming out. This meeting is adjourned.